grew up so poor that sometimes his only meal was whatever the neighbors could spare. He walked barefoot to school. He herded his neighbors' buffaloes to earn money for his own education. At 29, he became one of the youngest members of parliament in Indian history. He turned Indian Railways from a loss-making disaster into a profit machine, and Harvard, IIM and Wharton asked him to teach them how. And then he went to jail, convicted of corruption, disqualified from parliament, written off by everyone. And yet Bihar has never forgotten him, and Bihar has never stopped loving him. How does a man like Lalu Prasad Yadav happen? This is Lalu Prasad Yadav Bihar ka Sher, the Lion of Bihar, and this on AK World Vision is his complete story. I am Amrendra Kumar, welcome to AK World Vision. Today one of the most colorful, controversial and consequential leaders in Indian political history. Let's get into it. The 11th of June 1948, in a tiny village called Phulwaria in the Gopalganj district of Bihar, a boy is born, Lalu Prasad Yadav. His father Kundan Rai, a poor farmer. His mother Marakhiya Devi, a homemaker. They had almost nothing. Young Lalu would herd his neighbors' buffaloes to earn enough money to pay for his own education. He walked barefoot to school. He ate whatever was available, sometimes whatever the neighbors spared. But here is what defined Lalu Prasad Yadav from the very beginning. He was never ashamed of where he came from. While other politicians from poor backgrounds tried to hide their origins as they rose, Lalu wore his poverty like a badge of honor. He spoke in the language of the villages. He ate the food of the poor. He dressed like a common man. And Bihar's millions loved him for it. Against all odds, Lalu made it to Patna University. He completed a Bachelor of Laws and a Master of Arts in Political Science from BN College, Patna University. Before politics, he worked briefly as a clerk at Bihar Veterinary College. A poor boy from Gopalganj, clerking his way through Patna while something much bigger was stirring inside him, because at university Lalu had discovered his greatest weapon. Not money, not family connections, not caste patronage, his voice. The moment Lalu Prasad Yadav opened his mouth, people listened, people laughed, people followed. He had a gift for speaking that Bihar had never quite seen before, earthy, funny, sharp, fearless in the language of the common man. In 1970, at just 22 years old, Lalu entered student politics. He became General Secretary of Patna University Students' Union, and by 1973 he was its president. Then came the moment that shaped a generation. In 1974, legendary socialist leader Jayaprakash Narayan JP launched the Bihar movement, a massive agitation against corruption and the authoritarian tendencies of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Students across Bihar flooded the streets, and at the front of those students was a young man from Gopalganj, Lalu Prasad Yadav. JP noticed him, mentored him, trusted him. In June 1975, Indira Gandhi declared the national emergency. Democracy was suspended. Opposition leaders were arrested. Lalu was arrested and imprisoned held until 1977. Here is a detail that tells you everything about Lalu Prasad Yadav. When he was released from prison in 1977 and his first daughter was born, he named her MISA, after the very law that had imprisoned him. A man who names his daughter after the law that jailed him is not a man who fears anything. The 1977 general election was a referendum on the emergency. India voted against Indira Gandhi in one of the biggest electoral upsets in the country's history. And from the Chapra constituency of Bihar, a 9-year-old Yadav boy won a seat in the Lok Sabha. Lalu Prasad Yadav, at just 29 years old, was now a member of parliament, one of the youngest in the country's history. But politics is never a straight line. In 1979, the Janata Party government collapsed. Fresh elections in 1980 and Lalu lost his Lok Sabha seat. He regrouped, won a Bihar Legislative Assembly seat in 1980, won again in 1985. By 1989, he was leader of opposition in the Bihar Assembly. He was building, brick by brick, block by block, vote by vote. And in 1990, the moment arrived. Lalu Prasad Yadav became Chief Minister of Bihar. The boy who herded buffaloes was now running one of India's largest states. Lalu Prasad's chief ministership from 1990 to 1997 was one of the most socially transformative periods in Bihar's history. Bihar had historically been dominated by upper caste landlords, Brahmins, Rajputs, Bhumihars, who controlled land, administration, and elections. Lalu changed that fundamentally. Under his tenure, OBC legislators in Bihar Assembly rose to nearly 50%, while upper caste representation fell dramatically. For the first time, backward caste communities felt that the government was theirs. Dalits who had been forced to vote as their upper caste landlords dictated began voting freely. In October 1990, BJP leader L.K. Advani launched his famous Rath Yatra, a political procession across India to build support for the Ram Mandir movement. The Yatra was stoking communal tensions across the country. Lalu made a decision that shocked Indian politics. He ordered the arrest of L.K. Advani in Samastipur, Bihar, stopping the Yatra in its tracks. BJP immediately withdrew support. Lalu's government was in danger. He didn't care. That one act made Lalu Prasad Yadav a national figure overnight. To his supporters, he was the man who stood between India and communal violence. To BJP, he was their greatest enemy in Bihar. Both descriptions he wore with pride. But there is another side to the Lalu years. Bihar's governance deteriorated badly. Law and order collapsed in large parts of Bihar. Kidnapping for ransom became rampant. Infrastructure, roads, power, schools was neglected. Critics call it Jungle Raj. His supporters said for the first time, the jungle was no longer only ruled by upper caste landlords. Both things were probably true simultaneously. And then came the moment that changed everything. In 1996, allegations surfaced of massive corruption in the Animal Husbandry Department of Bihar. State funds meant to purchase animal fodder had been systematically looted. The amount, hundreds of crores of rupees, embezzled over years through fake bills, coarse transactions, corrupt officials. The CBI began investigating and Lalu Prasad Yadav was named as a prime accused. In July 1997, Lalu was forced to resign as chief minister. And then he did something that Indian politics had never seen before. He installed his wife, Rabri Devi, as his successor. Rabri Devi, who had little formal political experience, became chief minister of Bihar, the first female chief minister in the state's history. Critics called it a puppet government. Lalu running Bihar from behind the scenes. Lalu called it his right. Also in 1997, he broke away from the Janata Dal and founded his own party, the Rashtriya Janata Dal (RJD). Even from outside government, even under legal cloud, he was building his own political empire. The legal battles were long and painful. In September 2013, a CBI court convicted him in the first fodder scam case, sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. In 2017, convicted in additional cases, sentenced to 3.5 years in one case. In another case, sentenced to 14 years imprisonment with a fine of 60 lakh. He was disqualified from parliament, spent significant time in jail. Most careers would have ended there. Lalu Prasad Yadav's did not. But in between the scams and the court cases, Lalu Prasad Yadav achieved something that left the entire world surprised. In 2004, when the Congress-led UPA government came to power at the center, Lalu was made Union Minister for Railways. Indian Railways in 2004 was in crisis, running at massive losses. Experts predicted it would collapse entirely. Lalu took over. In just 5 years, he turned Indian Railways from a loss-making, bankrupt system into a profit-generating enterprise. The surplus reached nearly 90,000 crore, a turnaround that shocked economists worldwide. How did he do it? He focused on freight, filling the same trains with more goods rather than adding more trains. He reduced the time between trains, improved capacity utilization, cut wasteful expenditure. He called it using your kela ka chilka banana peel wisdom, doing more with what you already have. And then something extraordinary happened. Harvard Business School, one of the world's most prestigious institutions, made the Indian Railways turn around a case study in their curriculum. IIM Ahmedabad, Wharton School of Business, management institutes across the world studied how a politician from a small Bihar village had achieved what trained executives could not. Lalu was invited to lecture at these institutions. The man convicted of corruption was teaching the world's top business schools about management. India is full of contradictions. Behind the politics and the controversies, who is Lalu Prasad Yadav as a person? He married Rabri Devi on the 1st of June 1973. They have 9 children, 7 daughters, and 2 sons. His sons Tejasvi Yadav and Tej Pratap Yadav have both entered politics. Tejasvi became Deputy Chief Minister of Bihar, carrying his father's political legacy forward. But the family has not been without drama. In May 2025, Lalu expelled his own son Tej Pratap Yadav from the party after a social media controversy. Even in his 70s, Lalu remains at the center of every storm. What makes Lalu Prasad Yadav genuinely different from almost any politician in India is his authenticity. He holds cabinet meetings under trees, he sits on courts in villages, he speaks in Bhojpuri and Hindi, the language of the masses, not sanitized English. He loves wrestling, cricket, football. He was president of Bihar Cricket Association in 2001. He appeared in a Bollywood film Padma Shri Lalu Prasad Yadav in 2004. Director Mahesh Bhatt once said he deserved to be the Prime Minister of India. And then there is his wit. Lalu Prasad's one-liners have become legendary in Indian political folklore. When asked about governance, he once said, "अरे भाई गाड़ी चलती रहे, ट्रेन चलती रहे, बस इतना काफी है. Just keep the vehicle running, that's enough." Love him or hate him, nobody in Indian politics has ever been quite like Lalu Prasad Yadav. Despite convictions and jail time, Lalu Prasad never stopped fighting. In the 2015 Bihar Assembly elections, his RJD became the single largest party, winning 81 seats. In coalition with Nitish Kumar's JDU, they formed the government. His son Tejasvi became deputy CM. It seemed like the comeback was complete. But in July 2017, Nitish Kumar abruptly ended the alliance and joined hands with the BJP, leaving Lalu in the opposition. Once again, Lalu was out. Once again, he refused to accept it. In the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, RJD, as part of the INDIA alliance, won 4 seats, a modest but meaningful performance. And as 2025 Bihar Assembly elections approached, Lalu, now in his mid-70s, was still at the center of Bihar's political battlefield. With family tensions between his 2 sons and questions about RJD's future direction, the Lalu chapter was far from closed. Bihar in 2025 remains, as always, Lalu Prasad Yadav country. Even when he is not in power, he shapes every conversation. Lalu Prasad Yadav's legacy is impossible to judge simply. His supporters say he gave Bihar's backward castes and minorities something they had never had: a voice, a seat at the table, political power. He stopped the Rath Yatra and possibly prevented a much larger communal conflagration. He turned Indian railways around when everyone said it was impossible. He made Bihar's poorest people feel that the government was their government. His critics say Bihar's development stalled for 15 years under his influence. Roads weren't built, schools didn't improve, electricity was unreliable, kidnappings were rampant. The fodder scam showed that social justice messaging can coexist with personal corruption. He installed his wife as CM, making a mockery of democratic norms. Historians of Indian democracy note that Lalu Prasad represents something real and important. The rise of OBC political assertion, the democratization of Bihar's power structures after decades of upper caste dominance. Whether that social change came at too high a price in terms of governance and corruption is a debate Bihar is still having. He is the man Bihar loves and the man Bihar argues about simultaneously, and perhaps that is his most fitting legacy. From herding buffaloes in Gopalganj to teaching Harvard Business School how to run a railway. From the youngest MP at 29 to a convicted felon who never stopped fighting. Lalu Prasad Yadav is, whatever you think of him, one of the most fascinating and most human leaders in Indian political history. If this video gave you value, please drop a like. It genuinely helps AK World Vision grow. Subscribe for more deep dive political biographies. And tell me in the comments, is Lalu Prasad Yadav a hero of social justice or a symbol of corruption? Or somehow both? Drop your answer. I read every comment. I am Amrendra Kumar. This is AK World Vision. See the world differently.